E aí, gringo? O que você tá fazendo aí?
No comprende. Leave me alone.
Você tem alguma coisa pra mim? Do you got something for me?
For you? Tell you what I got. I got a gun, and if anybody thinks they're gonna take it from me, they'd be dead wrong.
So this is Louis, and prior to going out and mowing my lawn and doing my boomer duties, which are going to take up the rest of this day, I thought I would record this because I forgot to charge my phone when I went out for lunch, and it's practically dead, so I thought, I'll charge my phone and I'll record this, and two birds with one stone, and then I'll go out and mow my lawn and do all my lawn care duties and clean up my house and all that jazz. So today is kind of wasted, but I wanted to at least record something that it really stuck with me last night, because I was putting together the teaser for Copcast 2, and I never really had a chance to explain my position on Copcast, because if you watch the first Copcast, I don't recall doing much in the way of explaining my perspective on the nature of what we're seeing. The fly-on-the-wall aspect of watching this body cam footage of a cop either interacting with, getting violent with, shooting a criminal, and what ultimately that means. What is the reason why I'm showing this to you? Because while the obvious is, being that this is YouTube, the point is entertainment, is there something deeper to this? And the answer is yes, that should be obvious. The point is, there's a lot that I could do, there's a lot that I could say, there's a lot that I could show you to entertain you. But why are you watching that rather than, and why is there a demand for it rather than you go watch a movie? Why don't you go watch a movie? Or go watch a TV show or a streaming show? Why don't you go watch those shows like a cop movie rather than watch real-life body cam video of someone getting shot and killed? And the answer is that there is something to that is beyond entertainment. There is a value to that goes beyond just mindless entertainment to stimulate your mind or to take your mind off of something, because I think that with the body cam footage, it is the exact opposite, which is the main reason why I want to do it. I think many of you are demanding it. It forces you to look at something that is real, that is not false, that's not fake, that's not Hollywood. This is a circumstance in which a normal person, the cop, the only distinction between you and this cop is the cop wears a badge and he did some training. That's the only distinction between you and him or her. Mostly him. That's the only real difference, is a cop, an otherwise normal person, and someone engaging in deviant behavior. This is a deviant person. This is a criminal. And this criminal is ultimately the outlier. They are the odd person in this situation. And what I appreciate about the body cam footage and my ability to stream them and show you these things, it's to show you that there's something that the political orthodoxy, the neoliberal paradigm, the academics, and all of the intelligentsia, there is something that I can show you that is true, and something they do not want you to see, something they want to keep you ignorant of. And it isn't like, oh, ha-ha, 650. It is the brutal reality of civilization and of policing. It's the fact of, even if we go back thousands of years in human history, there are some things that don't change. There are certain things that no matter how much progress we've made, no matter how politically correct we are, no matter how much technology advances, some things don't change. And that is deviant behavior, criminality. These things don't change. And regardless of you're some sort of guardsman once upon a time with a pike who's sticking it into a criminal with a dagger, or if you are in the modern day and you're a cop with an automatic, or excuse me, semi-automatic fire, or an automatic firearm actually, and you are, here's an example. One of the videos I have is two cops getting into a grappling match on the ground, like a wrestling match with this random guy. And the cops make the mistake of either holding back and using force, or they are somewhat poorly trained because they're grappling with this guy and they can't get him under control. They can't get him on the ground. So what eventually happens? The guy they're grappling with grabs the one cop's gun, and the one cop goes, "He's got my gun, shoot him." So the other cop takes his pistol right out of his holster, basically presses it against the criminal's head, and blows his fucking brains out. That is the circumstances of that video that I'm going to show you. Guy goes for the cop's gun. The other cop blows his fucking head off while grappling him, like in his face, blows his fucking head off. The stupid person shields their eyes. They look away. They don't want to see that. They don't want to hear about it. They want to keep themselves ignorant to the brutal reality of deviant behavior in law enforcement, when the hard truth is right there in front of you. It's staring you dead in the eye. It is something that, to me, is worth showing you and looking at myself, because it speaks to me in a way that says that there's something that is beyond, like I say, the carefully crafted narrative that is so much of what culture is, so much of what social norms are, that regardless, like I say, of how far we advance, no matter how progressive we are, no matter how diverse in the rest of it we pretend to be, once you scratch the surface of civilization, there is something beneath it that you can see that is actually true. And that is, as I say, no matter how much we advance, no matter how technologically advanced we are, no matter how culturally sensitive and how crazy and abstract our academics are, there's something brutal and true that is just beneath the surface for all of us to see. We have these two parties where one party is legally and morally licensed to blow someone's fucking head off. And we have another party that is willing to absurdly, and this is so true about criminality, of how absurd it is. That is the other side of this, of where I say that tragedy becomes comedy, because the comedy is the absurdity of the criminal. The absurdity of the criminal to, while grappling with two cops, go for the one cop's gun and to have the other cop blow your fucking brains out in the process. That you are willing to give away your life for the minimal, the absolutely infinitesimally small chance that you are able to get away from that situation and murder those two police officers. It's incredible to see. And I think that you and me are in the fringe minority of understanding these circumstances, of understanding this scenario, this dynamic that exists and has existed throughout time. As long as civilization has existed, this phenomena has existed. Of those enforcing the will of the people, or the will of the state, the will of the king, whatever it is, the laws that are written against those that engage in deviant behavior, those that aren't normal. Because no normal person would risk their life to try to go for a police officer's gun while on the ground. While multiple cops are trying to wrestle you into submission to take you into custody. No normal person would be grappling then for the police officer's gun and risking getting your fucking head blown off by the other officer who's also armed and right there with you. No normal person would do that, but it's so unbelievably common among criminals to do just that. Overwhelmingly, I would say, most people don't understand that. They don't see that. They have no concept of this. They don't see this. They don't get it. They have no knowledge of this. Most people tend to think in this pragmatic fashion. Most people are rational. Most people are decent. I can understand that from the perspective of them assuming most people are good. That's fine. I would agree with that concept. Even if you are personally a pessimist that disagrees, I would say that these people, the deviants, are clearly the outlier. Because while 90% of people within a situation wouldn't be so absurd to do what that guy did and risk getting their head blown off, there is a certain percentage, 1 to 10. We don't really know where it fits, like how many people are within that percentage. I would say it's 1 to 10 that are deviants. But 1 to 10% of the population, regardless of where we are in the world, they would do that. They are absurd. They are irrational. They are deviant. They are not normal. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't give them human consideration, of course. And it doesn't mean they don't have the same rights as us. But it does mean that regardless of what we do, regardless of how rational we are and how advanced we are and all the rest of it, these people are deviant. And when has this not been true? Find me a point in history. No matter how decadent and the rest of it our society is, or how previous ones were, or how purified and ideal societies were, this has always existed. And I think that far too few people consider this. I think most people are comfortable in the lie that this is something not worth considering. I think that most people are not concerned with crime in the sense that I'm trying to display to you. I'm trying to show you. I think most people have a concept of crime that is detached, but from a sense of ignorance. They don't know it and they don't want to know it. When my interest is knowing and spreading that information so that you can have a glimpse of truth. Which isn't to say that every person in this situation is evil, because I don't think that many are evil. But it's not to condemn every one of these people, especially when so many of these people are engaging in suicide by cop. Some of these people are deviants in the sense of they have some sort of psychopathy or mental disorder, personality disorder, and that is what motivates them to take these absurd risks to get away. But some of these people very clearly are mentally ill. Some of these people are simply mentally ill, and they choose to force a police officer to take their life because they're too afraid or just unable for whatever reason to take their own life. Being that suicide in the United States and generally in the West is such a huge problem at the moment, and especially in the United States, it's a very big problem across the board. Young, old, men, women. Suicide is a major problem. People that claim that there is a mental health crisis in America, in the West, I think that they're largely right, that there is a crisis. But it's not just, the upper middle class white girl feels bad so she's on a fucking, antidepressant or mind-altering drug. To me, it's like, okay, that's the politically correct thing to talk about. That's the thing that people can talk about even if it's not talked about enough. What I'm trying to show you is the other side of it. The side that no one wants to talk about, no one wants to see, which is the absurdity of what policing ultimately is. Like, what it is, not just in the sense of a criminal engaging in criminal activity, but the interaction that these two parties have, the criminal and the cop. What is going on here? Because I really think if you look at a lot of movies and a lot of fiction, a lot of media, and even what the media says about crime, they have a narrative. It's always in the context of a narrative. It's something constructed. It's never reality. It's never the truth. It's always gatekeeping. It's always pre-written. It's prefabricated. It's not something that actually gets through the lens that they're putting on you to where you can actually see what's happening. And that's why I appreciate so much of the body cam footage, because it gets past the lens and the filters and the pre-written narratives. It gets through all of it, and you can just see for yourself what the interactions are, what happens, what are the circumstances, what is the outcome, how it could have been avoided. Fault is usually established in many of these videos pretty easy depending on the behavior of the criminal. If there's one thing I want to show you, and it's why I would put this under education, because a lot of the cop channels put a lot of this under education. But I think they do it in a kind of cheap way. They don't I think I might have put the first Copcast under entertainment, because ultimately it's all of this. All of this. You could put every fucking video on YouTube under entertainment. It's why I think it's a useless category unless you're talking specifically about like meta contextual, like we're talking about the entertainment industry and like we're going into here's how the sausage is made, sort of movies are made, sort of thing. When it comes to these videos, the education that I'm trying to show to you, above all, beyond that of the actual philosophical thing that I'm trying to push here of cutting through the narrative, cutting through the construct, and holding the paradigm accountable that is, the powers that be, holding them accountable for the gatekeeping and the lens and all that. The thing that I'm trying to say myself with these videos is the absurdity of criminality. I've already touched on this, but I think that is the reason why I am doing this. That's the thing I want to imbue in this. Like, I'm trying to tell you. That is my message in this. Even though what it is just me laughing and commenting on and showing you these videos, I'm trying to make you laugh. I'm trying to make you look at these things, and even though they are tragic, again, this is somebody's father, this is somebody's son, this is someone's sister, someone's mother, somebody's brother. These are people with families, these are tragedies, but the fact is, there is comedy in this because the fact is, these fucking criminals so often are so painfully absurd in their actions that is my hope in this. I want you and everyone, culturally, I want us to look at criminality and see it as a living fucking parody. To be a criminal is to be absurd. It is to be ultimately irrational. It's someone that wants to die. You're basically suicidal, but you have some sort of justification on top. Like, I'm some hard-ass gangbanger, when in fact you just want to blow your fucking head off. Or have someone, kill you because you're too afraid to kill yourself. That's how I view criminality. I view deviant behavior criminality as a joke. It is the fact that these people are not rational. They're not, I don't want to say not sane, because some of these people aren't sane, and I'm not trying to make light of that. It's those that are engaging in this behavior and think they're hard. They think they're like authentic and all the rest of it, when in my view they're not. I see all of this as a big lie that the criminal engages in, that they think whatever they think of themselves, when in reality, to me, they're fucking absurd. They are laughable in their actions, their behavior, how they dress, what they do. They are absurd. And we should laugh at them. When you watch The Sopranos, it's the same thing. There's so much levity and comedy in that show, and sometimes the comedy's not obvious. It's just what they portray as being ridiculous and humorous. There's one scene in The Sopranos where Tony, earlier in the show, they foreshadow or set up the joke that something happened to Tony's father, and his mother, Tony's mother, laughed at him. And later in the same episode, Tony leaves his mother's house, falls down, and a pistol he had in his waistband falls out of his waistband. And he looks behind him, and his mom's there in the doorway, and she laughs at him. And it's devastating to Tony, because in Tony's mind, he's a fucking big tough guy. He's a hard ass. He's a real gangster. Like, he's the boss. He's all this. And he's still someone that can stumble to the ground and look like a schmuck. He has to pick up the gun off the ground and stick it back in his jacket. All the while, his mom, who he has a completely dysfunctional relationship with, is standing in the doorway and laughing at him. I think there's a lot of brilliance to The Sopranos, and that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. That no matter how big and tall and tough these guys think they are, they're dysfunctional. They're absurd. They're irrational. And their lives are a mess up until the end, where they die violently. And what in the end do they have to show for it? And what does it really even mean when they reach that violent end? The opposite version of that glorifies and criminals enjoy, and I've seen this myself, is Tony Montana in Scarface. It's the opposite. It's the glorification of criminality, the glorification of the criminal, the drug kingpin. He's a tough talking hard ass. He doesn't give a fuck about what anyone thinks, and he's going to go out on his own terms and yada, yada, yada. when in the end he still dies. He still goes out. You can say it's a blaze of glory, but is it really? Is it really? I don't think it is. I think a lot of people watched Scarface and walked away with the wrong message. And like I say, I think there is, among like criminal culture, there is a glorification of Tony Montana in Scarface, where, from my point of view, it's this irrational guy that makes all these irrational decisions and gets himself killed in the end based on those bad decisions. You're not strong. These criminals aren't strong. These deviants aren't strong. They are weak. They prey upon the weak because they are weak themselves. The fact that no matter how big and tough these criminals think they are, overwhelmingly, so many of them go out like fucking idiots. The police, I'll keep this in the context of a sheriff, because you can debate police. The sheriff is the strong person, and the criminal is the weak person. And as we watch this body cam footage, although there are officers who are very tragically cut down in the line of duty and killed in the line of duty or severely wounded. I've even seen that. I've interviewed people, cops formerly, that were severely wounded in the line of duty. That's very sad. But so often the case is that these criminals go out in a blaze of stupidity, a blaze of absurdity, and they are wasted like a fucking video game character, or a fucking, a joke in a film where the big tough guy just gets his clock cleaned. Because no matter how tough he thinks he is, no matter how strong he deludes himself in thinking, he is an irrational deviant. And he is going to go out, and it is going to be hilarious to watch, because his tragedy is his hubris and his delusion to think that he is any more than a scum-sucking petty criminal who crawled out of the fucking gutter. He is a parasite on society who deludes himself in thinking otherwise. And to me, it is funny to watch this absurd person die under these circumstances. Because to me, it cuts through all the bullshit to see the truth for what it is. That no matter how delusional you are just one interaction away from you meeting reality in the form of a bullet. Or many. Depending on what happens. Because there are a few where you got some motherfucking sharpshooters for cops who just blow away some of these guys with one round. And I got a couple of those videos. And there's a bunch of videos like that where some super cop fires one fucking round and takes this guy out fucking Max Payne style. I have a smile on my face when I say this, because it's not a matter of, again, laughing at someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's father, someone's brother. I'm not telling you that this isn't a tragedy, but I am saying that I didn't put this person in this situation. The police officer did not put this person in this situation. The criminal, the deviant, put themselves in this situation, and their undoing is their own. They're responsible, and they would rather, and this is the fact, they would rather die than face the consequences of their actions. They would rather die than look themselves in the mirror and to look us all in our faces, in our eyes, and admit what they've done. They would rather die than do that. That's how I know these people are absurd. They're delusional. Is they would rather sacrifice their own life than ever face responsibility. And that is funny. That is funny to me. Because no matter what I think about myself, no matter how much you might listen to me and say this guy is a little bit too overly confident, he's arrogant, he's this and that, there's never been a point in my life where I've avoided responsibility to the degree that I was going to sacrifice whatever, let alone my own life, you know what I mean? I'm not willing to sacrifice a friendship or a relationship with a loved one or whatever for the sake of my ego and my delusions. I would rather admit fault, admit the failure, my personal failure, and take responsibility than to denigrate myself in a certain way, let alone lose my life. And these people are the opposite. That is their fault. That is why they are deviants. Is they would rather take a life or lose their own life rather than accept responsibility for what they've fucking done. Until more of us understand that's who these people are, and we should laugh at them. We should mock them. We should watch these living parodies. these living memes. Until people understand the circumstances of these kind of videos, of this content, of crime, criminality in law enforcement and policing. So long as people refuse to look at this for what it is, this will continue indefinitely, forever. There's many things, I'm sure many will say parenting, fatherhood, the rest of it. Yes, yes, yes. But I think there is something that goes beyond the issue of lack of fathers, lack of parenting, environment, blah, 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 racism, blah, 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 socioeconomic status. I think that it is I don't want to say glorification of criminals, because I don't want to take the position of, well, like, we need to get rid of this art, because I'm obviously not in favor of that. I don't think that gangster rap automatically justifies, oh, that's where the gangsterism is coming from. No, I don't believe that. I think it is the gangster rap exists, the crime movies exist, the crime dramas exist, because you can look, like I say, it's Scarface two different ways. It's the idea that anyone would watch a gangster or a criminal going out, getting killed for nothing, losing their life, so there's nothing left, and see that as a good thing. That is an absurd person themselves. They're an absurd person watching an absurd person, and they're saying, yes, that's what I should be like. I should mirror that behavior. Not looking at an absurd person and saying, that's absurd. It's hilarious. It's a tragedy, but it's hilarious. Let's all laugh together at the circumstances of this ridiculous person who chose to have their own life taken or take their own life rather than face up to what they did. That, to me, is the problem. And there might be an issue where we never get there. Where, for the end of time, 1,000 years, 2,000 years from now, we're still in these circumstances. But even if that is the fate of humanity, that we never really get our heads around this, I at least want to do what I can to show to you this content, and hopefully with this video explain to you what my perspective is on the matter, and what is my intention behind this, why I'm doing this. Because it isn't just for me to laugh and to entertain you. I could do that with a lot. You could go watch something else. It is this, I think, that is the real underlying purpose of why you watch and why I show this to you. Hopefully you were able to follow along with this and I didn't repeat myself too much. Thanks for listening.